Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. The WBC champion Tyson Fury has directed a verbal tirade at unified champion Oleksandr Uysk and Anthony Joshua, with Joshua and Usyk to have a rematch later this year. Check it out.
You know, I can't believe that AJ has gone and give Ukraine all the heavyweight belts back after all my hard work of relieving them. You big useless dosser. You've let a little steroid man come up from middleweight and set about you and take all your belts. But he's going to have to take a real British Lancaster bomber like me to go and relieve the useless little steadhead of the belts and get him back to Britain. You useless dossers. Honestly, bring them to me. The Gypsy King, bring them to me, and I'll put them into place. I'll relieve them of the belts again.
So I know that some of these comments are going to get some fans riled, because obviously Tyson Fury is the one that's been found with performance-enhancing substances in his system before, in 2015 found with nandrolone, and then obviously claiming that it came from a wild boar, and then fighting a rearguard action with UKAD, ultimately coming to a settlement with the UK anti-doping agency and serving a backdated ban. Usyk himself hasn't failed any tests, so some people will be looking at this going, well, that is pot calling the kettle black. But the way that I look at this is, it doesn't matter who ends up winning between Joshua and Usyk. You've got a situation where Tyson Fury's looking at it, well, it could be either of these guys. I've just got to put some fuel on the fire. For the Joshua stuff, criticizes Joshua to losing to a middleweight that's on Peds, according to Fury. That's going to put another log on the fire in terms of the banter that he's directed towards Joshua and the reaction of Joshua fans. With Fury and Usyk, there's not a huge rivalry in the sense of back and forth banter and stuff that's being said. So this sort of comment really ratchets up the sort of tempo and starts to build a bit of a rivalry, and you can bet your bottom dollar some fans will be really upset about this. So it will no doubt achieve what Tyson Fury is wanting. He's going to try to build towards an undisputed fight. This is the sort of groundwork towards that. But he's got to be careful himself, because obviously he's the one that was found with a performance-enhancing substance in his system previously, and despite claims of innocence and all that, at the end of the day, it is a strict liability system. Doesn't matter how it got there, just that it was there. And I'm sure Usyk will be responding in kind in due course. Moving on, so Filip Hrgovic, he is calling out Tony Yoka for the IBF final eliminator. So Luis Ortiz and Joseph Parker have both turned it down, claiming that they've got injury. For Ortiz, a small hand fracture, and for Joseph Parker, sore elbows, apparently. Hrgovic on the right-hand side of the post here, fight against Tony Yoka has now been ordered by the IBF in a heavyweight title final eliminator. I've been waiting for this fight for a long time. A lot of people think that I should have won the fight in semi-final on Olympics 2016, and now it's time for payback. Tony Yoka, it's your move. Here's the clip.
Tony Yoka, I heard some calling out from you after your last fight. Now the letter from IBF will come to you. Sign the contract. Let's make that fight. Now you have chance. What you gonna do?
So I like this fight, and I do hope that it gets made, because there is a rivalry there dating back to the amateurs, not just the Olympics. Obviously that was somewhat controversial in itself. You had Hrgovic losing to Yoka in a closely fought fight, and then obviously Yoka went on and had another close fight, which was also contestable in some people's minds, that against Joyce. So, but you have Hrgovic and Yoka being pairs all the way back to about 2010, 2011 in the amateurs. and obviously being on that scene as some of the top amateurs coming through. So, you know, they do have an amateur rivalry, which would be good if it played out in the pros. But will it happen? I guess that's the question. And some people will say, well, Tony Yoka, what does he have to gain from this? Well, a direct title shot for one. Is there the sort of money that he'd want? Well, he hasn't earned the same sorts of money that the likes of Joseph Parker and Luis Ortiz have, the sort of money that they're already looking for. This can shortcut to a title shot. But you also have to consider, well, Tony Yoka had a fight scheduled with Martin Piccoli. That was meant to be on the 15th of January. It got pushed back, or postponed, I should say, due to COVID restrictions around crowds. They were going to have a crowd of 20,000. Some restrictions came in. It was going to be cut by almost all of it, down to about 2,000 or so. But in terms of that, so Billy Nelson, who is the trainer for Martin Piccoli, he is saying on social media that the fight is going to be rescheduled. See here on screen, Yoka versus Piccoli rescheduled for March. It was called off due to French government ruling on sport and culture. So it may in fact be the case that Tony Yoka still has to fight Piccoli due to the contracts, and obviously that event was already going ahead, well ahead of him being offered this IBF final eliminator, and it sounds from what Billy Nelson is saying that it is going to be rescheduled. So he may just be out of the picture just because of that fight already having been made, with the intention to still go ahead just on a new date. But Filip Hrgovic, talking of Luis Ortiz, telling IFL TV in regards to Ortiz not taking that fight, of course I know why. He don't want the smoke, man. There's no such official reason, so we can figure out what the reason is. He didn't want that fight. It's IBF eliminator. It's a great chance for everyone. I don't understand, but it is what it is. And then his promoter, Nissa Sauerland, says it's frustrating. In terms of Ortiz, he's 42. Does he want to fight a young, hungry animal like Filip Hrgovic? No, this could be his last fight, so I think he's looking for a cash-out fight. Whether it was a small hand fracture, whether he goes on to have an in-house fight at PBC, well, it'll all come out in the wash. And someone who's coming back from injury, Joyce, so telling Frank Warren, and there's an article on frankwarren.com, that he's looking to fight sometime in April, and that there are some great potential fights for me for this one, which is something to look forward to. I will be back punching soon in about 6 weeks, and this will still be a huge year for me. And in 2021, his last fight was against Carlos Takam, and we saw Joyce go all juggernaut. Remember the juggernaut sort of balloon that he was wearing into the ring, and he just tried to walk through Takam, ultimately stopped him in about half a dozen rounds. He says he kind of reverted to type because he didn't have his trainer Ismail Salas with him, saying it's just the way it turned out really, but I think it's a case of not having worked with Salas. This is why I had to reconnect with him and go back to Vegas to start learning some more stuff from him. For the Dubois fight, he came over for 2 weeks to set the game plan and polish up my technique, which resulted in me going in and doing the job. I'm in a better place after doing a training camp with him, for sure. He brings me on a lot, and from the start of my professional career, he's installed in me the fundamentals and biomechanics of boxing. So no doubt Joyce linking up with Salas for his next fight. So even with restrictions, I think Joyce will be trying to make sure that tutelage is there for him. And rounding up this heavyweight news and notes mashup video, so the return of Jarrell Pharmacy Miller, it certainly is nearing. So Miller himself has been in Poland, so he was seen at the Damian Kaneba headlined event just over this past weekend, part of the promotion for whatever reason. I'm not really clear why, but you can see here with some different photos. Mariusz Wach is actually preparing for a fight in Montreal, and this is going to be on the 22nd of January versus Aslanbek Makhmadov. So some work for Mariusz Wach. These two actually did fight all the way back in 2017. Jarrell Miller doing his sort of come forward volume thing, and Mariusz Wach retired, was it 7 or 8 rounds, had an injury in the end. So yeah, I mean, certainly that performance and other performances like that with the Energizer Bunny style sort of come forward Miller maybe in doubt now and in question given what's happened and transpired in recent years. But what do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.